Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Garantarat Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled. All glories to Shri Guru, Shri Goloka. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So I feel a little shy to give lecture with so many devotees, and also that you were all coming expecting such Nandana Swami to speak, and now it's someone much less qualified speaking. In the beginning of our movement, of the Hare Krishna movement, Srila Prabhupada gave a very precious gift to all his disciples. And this gift was the gift of the Krishna book. A book where he condensed all the nectar of Krishna's pastimes that he wanted to give to everyone. He even wanted this book to be distributed in the street to everybody could have this contact with the pastimes of Krishna. And at that time also it was introduced that in the temples, in the evening, we will read about Krishna book, about Krishna's pastimes. And I think also here in Zürich temple there are some days when we have the reading of the Krishna book. So I'm not so philosophically inclined, unfortunately, and I know that after a long day of work, the brain is not often working so strongly anymore. So I thought to take this advice or this instruction that Prabhupada had given us at that time and speak a little bit about Krishna's pastimes. It is said that whatever is in our mind half an hour before going to bed, or sometimes before going to bed, might stay in our consciousness and might still continue to work while we are sleeping. So therefore it's also very nice to hear about Krishna's pastimes in the evening like this. And there will be in that pastimes, I would like to tell this evening, also quite some philosophical points, or I would say some practical points for our own Krishna consciousness that we can apply. So there are many different pastimes of Lord Krishna, and we know about the Nemitika Lila and the Nitya Lila, the Lila which are eternally happening in the spiritual world, and the temporary pastimes in this material world. And those pastimes in the material world, they are actually very useful for the practicing devotee, because they are full of explanation of how we should behave. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explained that in Vrindavan, soon after Krishna's birth, a lot of demons were sent by Kamsa to Krishna. And actually all those demons represent a certain type of anartha, certain type of obstacles that the sadhaka will face during his progress in Krishna consciousness. So I would like to speak of one demon who was liberated from Krishna today, and that's the demon of Putana. Also, to give you a little bit idea between the Nitya Lila and Nemitika Lila, the eternal pastimes of Krishna and the temporary pastimes of Lord Krishna, the eternal pastimes, for example, Krishna do not take birth, or Krishna do not go to Mathura or to Dwarka, or there is also no demons in Nitya Lila. Those pastimes happened actually only in the material world. It is said that in the spiritual world there are no demons, but there are rumors that demons are there. Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj explained in one of his lectures that sometimes Purnamasi organize some servants to paint a big billboard with the face of a demon. And sometimes just the billboard come out of the bushes and everyone see the billboard with the demon and everyone feel, wow, here is a demon, and they all run to take shelter of Krishna. So whenever you see advertising billboard in the street, you can remember that you can connect it in Krishna consciousness. So something I would like also to say before we start really with the pastimes is that everything that is happening in Vrindavan is actually transcendental. They are actually spiritual sense objects. And by hearing of Krishna's pastimes, we are actually totally connecting ourselves with Krishna consciousness. We are actually there. If our consciousness is tuned and we are actually hearing with attention, then we are transported into the spiritual realm. If we think, well, I have heard these pastimes already many times, let me think of something else in my mind, then we will not really have the access. But if we hear very carefully, we might find ourselves there observing the pastime. We hear in Srimad Bhagavatam how Shukadev Goswami and how Maharaj Parikshit was sometimes totally absorbed into the pastimes. He will feel what is happening, because in those pastimes there are all those spiritual sense objects, but they will awake in us emotions, and those emotions are actually spiritual emotions. Can you imagine having a relationship with someone without emotions, without involving emotions? It's not possible. In the same way, if we want to develop our relationship with Krishna, we need to develop emotions. We need to hear what he's doing and how he's thinking and like this. So, most of the demons who came to Vrindavan, sent by Kamsa, they had a past life story. And in her previous life, Putana was called Ratnamala. She was the sister of Bali Maharaj. And I think you are familiar with the pastimes of Vamanadev. When Vamanadev came to Bali Maharaj to ask him for 3 steps of land, when Ratnamala saw Vamanadev, she felt so attracted to him. She felt, wow, this boy is so cute, he's so beautiful, I want to serve him. And that's actually a general tendency. When we see somebody very cute, very small, very beautiful, we just desire to serve come. So Ratnamala thought, I want to become his mother. I want to give him once my milk. But as the pastime unfolded, Vamanadev actually took the whole kingdom. Oh yeah, very good. Is anyone else need a German translation?
Steht jemand kein Englisch?
Okay. As the... Do you need maybe to go and So as the pastime unfolded, and Vamanadev actually took the entire kingdom, the entire property of Bali Maharaj, and took even brought him into lower planetary system, Ratnamala felt very angry at Vamanadev. And she said, okay, you did that now. I will still give you my milk. I will still want to become your mother, but I will feed you with poison. That was her wish. So here there is a very nice point already for us. Are we not sometimes also like Ratnamala? Like when everything goes well, we are thinking, yeah, Krishna is there, Krishna is taking care, Krishna is so merciful. And when things do not go the way we want, we also feel, oh, what is the use? Maybe I don't go to the temple this Sunday after such problems I had. That's also sometimes tendency in our hearts. But there is actually a very, very interesting point. Ratnamala had a genuine desire to serve the Lord. in the beginning when she saw her. And here is something magical happening. As soon as the living entity had the genuine desire to serve the Lord, it's done. Although it might not be done already in action, but the Lord takes notice of that desire to serve Him. And one day or another, the Lord will arrange that this specific jiva will be able to render that service. So, Lord had noticed the small, teeny, genuine desire to serve the Lord. So that was a little bit the introduction of the past life of Putana. Now, I will invite you to come to Braj Dham, to Vrindavan village. Krishna is just to birth, he's 3 months old, very young. And one day one messenger come from Mathura to Vrindavan. This messenger is sent by Vasudeva, the father of Krishna. We remember at the birth of Krishna, Vasudeva brought Krishna in Braj. And now, since 3 months, Vasudeva did not have any news about his child, his boy. So he sent a messenger and he said, please call Nanda Maharaj to come to Mathura so that he can come and give me a report of how my son is doing. And anyway, he needs to pay his taxes to Kamsa, so at the same time he can do that. So Nanda Maharaj went to Mathura. He went into a secluded place with Vasudeva and explained him how Krishna was doing, how everything was so sweet and peaceful. And as they had such a good association between Vasudeva and Nanda Maharaj, they were speaking about Krishna all the time. Suddenly, Vasudeva remained silent. And then he said, please go back to Vrindavan as soon as you can. Some calamities might happen to Krishna. Nanda Maharaj was surprised that the energy had changed in their meeting, and he immediately said goodbye to Vasudeva and went back to Vrindavan by feet. Now, on his way, he became very anxious. What is happening? What if Vasudeva is right? What type of calamity could happen to my son? And being anxious like this, he took shelter at the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was actually his own son. Srila Prabhupada writes in that moment that this is the behavior of a devotee. A devotee is actually all the time taking shelter. A devotee understands that there is danger at every step in his life, and therefore at every moment the devotee is taking shelter at the Lord. Prabhupada also mentioned that as more as the devotee is progressing in Krishna consciousness, as more he will take shelter. Sometimes we think, as more as I progress, stronger I become, less actually I need to take shelter. But that's actually the opposite. As more as the sadhaka is progressing, as more he is taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord all the time. So in the meantime, as Nanda Maharaj was coming back to Braj, a witch called Putana was ordered by Kamsa to go to Vrindavan and to kill all the boy and capture all the girl she would meet. Putana was looking like a mendicant. She had matted locks of hairs, she had sharp teeth, and she could devour small children like a brahmachari devour a plate of halwa. She flew in the sky sitting on a stick. Actually not a stick, the root of a certain tree. We have this type of we have adapted that into Western style by seeing witch on their broomstick, but actually the original version is that they will fly on the root of some trees. And Srila Prabhupada mentioned that those witches are still to be found in northwest of India. So if you are in northwest of India, watch out. When Putana arrived in Braj, she was actually invited personally by the Lila Shakti of the Lord. So she arrived in Braj and she understood, I have to discuss myself. I'm not sure I will be able to kill Krishna if I come like this. So she had a lot of mystic power. She transformed herself into the most beautiful young girl, like 16 years old girl. She had malika flower in her hairs, she had brilliant earrings, and she was looking so attractive. She had a lotus in her hand, and when she entered Braj, everyone was attracted by her. Everyone was thinking, look at that, it is the goddess of fortune. This is the goddess of fortune who just came now. So everyone was just amazed. She entered the house of Nanda Maharaj, and her gaze was just searching, where is that boy? Externally, she looked very soft person, but inside her heart was very cruel. She used her mystic potency so that no one would notice who she was. She was like a terrorist. Terrorist also will hide himself and go in the center of the place, and then he can create a lot of havoc. So she was like this. She was entering and looking for that boy. Then she saw Mother Yasoda, and she spoke to Mother Yasoda. She spoke with a choked voice, and she had tears in her eyes. She said, "Oh Yasoda, you have become so hard-hearted because you are so busy and you keep this tender baby laying on the bed while you carry on your household duties. You are not giving full attention to your child. When I heard about your child, I came here immediately. Just like a jasmine flower become joyful at spring, my eyes become so joyful by seeing that beautiful child. My breasts are overflowing with nectar, and any child who drinks that nectar will obtain a perfect body. So I will become his nurse, and I will give him great happiness." Hearing those words, Mother Yasoda showed her the room, and Putana arrived in the room where Krishna was lying. Krishna was lying on a small bed which had a white sheet, white as the ray of the moon. Krishna looked like a great emerald that was sprouting out of a field of powder camphor. When Putana saw that boy, she was amazed. She understood this boy had the power to destroy the entire universe. She understood that boy can kill any demon, and myself too. She saw Krishna like a powerful fire hidden under ashes. But at the same time, Krishna was so young and looked so helpless on the bed that she decided to continue in her actions. When Krishna saw her coming, he understood she's coming to give me something. Although it's not the best that she wants to give me, she had actually, I forgot to say it, she had put some poison on her breasts, and she wanted to give Krishna milk and poisoned at the same time. So when Krishna saw her coming, he understood what was in her mind. But he decided, he thought, she came to bring me something I want to accept. Even though it's not such a good thing she wants to give me, she at least wants to give me something, I will accept it. There is the story of a sadhu who is going house to beg for alms. And in one house, the house lady is very angry. And she says, oh, again, one of those sadhu, today I give you ashes. And the sadhu said, okay, thank you. She's surprised. She said, huh? You are satisfied I give you ashes? And the sadhu said, yes, yes, you have started to give charity. Today you have started to give charity. Today you give me ash, tomorrow you give me cash. So when Krishna saw Putana, she was a little bit confused. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Should I do it? Should I not do it? She had these two options. She was seeing Krishna who he was, but at the same time he looked so helpless. So when Krishna saw the bewilderment of Putana, he closed his eyes. And here there are 4 meanings why Krishna closed his eyes. The first meaning was Krishna understood, Putana, she's coming to me like a mother, and I'm going to kill her. That's not such a good beginning of my life, to kill a mother. So he closed his eyes. The second reason why Krishna closed his eyes, Krishna knew that Putana had already killed a lot of babies, and he knew she has a demoniac nature, so better I close my eyes, because otherwise I will be influenced by this demoniac nature. The third reason, Krishna closed his eyes to encourage her to give charity, to do what she wanted to do. And the fourth reason, Krishna understood what she is going to do is very inauspicious. But my glance is keep bringing everything auspicious. So it will not work. Better I close my eyes. So Krishna closed his eyes and Putana took baby Krishna on her lap. And then she gave him her breast. And Krishna started to drink the milk with the cup of his soft lips. At that time, all the Brajvasis were looking at the scene, and everyone was in ecstasy. Look at that! The goddess of fortune is now feeding our child. Mother Yasoda was thinking, am I the mother of Krishna, or is she the mother of Krishna? But as Krishna started to drink the milk, he started to make a strange gesture with his mouth. It seemed the child did not like that milk. And then Krishna started to suck the milk, the poison, and her very life. Krishna started to squeeze her breast very, very strongly. And Putana became terrified what was happening. Krishna was also kicking with his feet on Putana's body, and Putana tried to push down baby Krishna but could not. Krishna was too intensely squeezing her breast. So she stood up and she ran out of the house, and she was screaming, "Child, leave me! Child, leave me!" The sound was resounding in all Braj. All the earth was trembling. Everyone fell down on the floor, thinking some thunderbolts were now falling from the sky. In the house, Mother Yasoda became like mad to see what was happening. She could not move, and she started to speak amazing words. She said, "Alas, how painful! Considering my son to be a priceless blue sapphire, the Nagapatnis took him to adorn their forehead. Thinking Krishna to be a fragrant flower from the Tamal tree, the Gandharvas abducted him to decorate their braids with him. Mistaking my son for the moon, has Shiva put him on his matted locks? Are the activities of that wicked demon the result of my bad karma? Or is just a freak play of destiny?" considering me unworthy, Krishna has gone with another mother. And then Yasoda made a few steps, trembling, and fell on the floor unconscious. All the Brajbasis started to run all around to see what had happened. And then they found the gigantic body of Putana. She had regained her form of a witch, and her body had become very, very, very big. It is said in the Vedic scriptures that a long, long time ago, mountains were flying. Mountains had wings. So when the cowboy boys saw the body of Putana, first they thought, is that mountains with unclipped wings? Putana had dark red hairs. The holes of her eyes were looking like deep blind wells. Her fearful thighs, how do we say? Yeah, thighs were looking like the bank of a river. Her abdomen looked like a dried up lake, and her breasts looked like small hills suitable for playing. Krishna was still on the body of Putana, and he was very, very small in comparison to that big, big body of Putana, and he was still kicking softly with his lotus feet on Putana's heart. Then Krishna understood, nobody will see me where I am. I'm so small and the body of Putana is so big. So he decided to climb up the breast of Putana so that from down they could see him. And when the cowboy boys saw Krishna on Putana's breast, they saw him like a beautiful small cloud stuck on the peak of a mountain. Krishna was thinking, she came to me to give me milk, and milk is life. So she came, she gave me milk, I took her life. What is my fault? When the cowboy boy saw baby Krishna up on the breast, they all climbed up the body of Putana and they rescued Krishna. And they were all taking baby Krishna and giving to the other cowboy men. And they were passing the child like this down the body of Putana. And then they came back to Yasoda's house. They told Yasoda, Yasoda, Krishna is saved. She could not, she was in delirium. She could not understand. She was like deep into a dream, and she was saying, why are you saying such a hard word? Why are you lying to me? And then they placed Krishna on her lap, and then she came out of her delirium, and she saw Krishna and she embraced him, and tears were rolling down her face. At that time, Nanda Maharaj came back from Mathura and saw the gigantic body of Putana. And he felt, wow, Vasudeva was right. Vasudeva had said the truth. But then it became so disturbed. Why those dull guards allow this witch to come in the house? Why was I not there to protect the child? And he just ran into the house. And when he saw that Krishna was saved, he took Krishna on his lap and embraced him. And in his heart, the seed of bliss sprouted. He was overwhelmed by loving emotions, having his son saved. Then they performed a lot of purificatory ceremonies. They chanted mantra and placed their fingers on Krishna's body to protect the child. They bathed him in cow urine and used the tail of a cow to I don't know exactly, to touch his body. But Srila Prabhupada mentioned that although they were just simple cowboy coward people, they knew about all those purificatory ritual. Thank you. Finally, Krishna drank Yasoda's milk, and that was the sign that everything was now in order for Krishna. Then they decided they had to burn the body of Putana. It is said in the scriptures, or maybe that was maybe the custom, but that whenever a snake dies, the snake can come back to life by the contact of oxygen. And they thought maybe that will also happen with that demon. So better we will cut her body down and we will burn his body. But for such body, that was quite a labor to cut all that down. So they used all the second class men of Vrindavan to do the work, and they started to make many different fires around Putana's body to burn his gigantic body. And at that time, something amazing happened. A wonderful fragrance came out of that fire. It was the fragrance of aguru, which is a mixture of saintly aromatic herbs. And everyone was amazed. From where is that smell coming? Is that coming from the heavenly planets? No, it was coming from this body, the body of Putana. And the reason was that Krishna had totally purified her. Krishna had taken out all impurities of Putana's body, and now there was this wonderful smell coming out. Since months after that, the smell was in Braj, and whoever will come in Vrindavan will inquire, from where is that wonderful smell coming? All those fire made a lot of smoke, and those smoke transformed into clouds, and then rain came, and everyone was blessed with this wonderful fragrance pervading all Vrindavan. Finally, Purnamasi came. She entered the house of Nanda Maharaj, and she sat in a corner, and everyone came to sit around Purnamasi, and everyone started to ask a question to Purnamasi about what had just happened. So this is the end of the pastime. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentioned that all those demons who came to Vrindavan, they are connected with some obstacles in our spiritual life. And here, for the Putana demon, there is a very special obstacle and very vast information about that. I want to go very, very fast over it, but he explained that Putana represents the false guru. And it is mentioned that there are three types of false guru. The one who is preaching that liberation and sense enjoyment are the ultimate goal of life. The one who is preaching beyond his abilities or his adhikar and preach to an audience, preach beyond the ability to understand from the audience. And the third type of false guru is our own mind. Our own mind that will sometimes try to take us away from spiritual progress, from advancing in spiritual life. There is a very big analogy of who Kamsa represents and who the false guru are actually like sent by Kamsa. And it is said that Kamsa represents the religious institution. That's quite a strong word. But he explained that it represents the institution, the external shelf of what religious institution is, without actually mentioning the essence of what spiritual life is. That means, for us, what it represents, because we could say, how can that be an anatta? Anatta is something which is inside of me, and that's something outside of me, this institution or things like this. But the anatta is that one accepts in his life to only take the external shell of Krishna consciousness without actually going into the depth of Krishna consciousness. That means that one just accept rituals, just follow rules and regulation without the actual awareness of what do they represent and why do the person follow. So that's actually, I would say, one door into this anatta. I don't want to speak much about that, but I think that's something very relevant for us in our spiritual life, to try to find out how much aware are we of the why, this small why. We are doing practice, spiritual practice, most of us. Are we aware of why we are really doing it? What is really the goal, and why do we do that, and what do they represent? So to follow all that without that is the anatta. Or to even feel everything is all right, like this. I don't need to think so deep of all those stuff. This is also part of the anatta. Now I would like to end this lecture by mentioning where did Putana go after she was liberated from Krishna. Most of the demons that were killed by Krishna, they were liberated. Just being touched by the hands of the Lord, they were liberated and they were sent into the Brahmayoti. But Putana got the place of a mother in the spiritual world. How can we understand that? Putana was very demoniac. No one could find faults in her demoniac activities. She was the sister of Bakasura, the sister of Agasura. What a family! she was really cruel, and now she was awarded to have this place as a mother in the spiritual world. How can we understand? There is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. I still have to find this out. I always forget. I think it's a discussion between Maitreya Muni and Uddhava. And I think Uddhava is speaking a very famous verse. And he says, how much merciful is my Lord? Why, to whom else should I take shelter than my Lord, who gave liberation, who brought this demon into the position of a mother in the spiritual world? How merciful is our Lord? And the reason why this happened is that actually Krishna took this very teeny, genuine desire to serve. This genuine desire that Ratnamala had in the beginning to serve the Lord, Krishna accepted that. Krishna destroyed everything else. Krishna purified all her impurity totally, but just took this small, teeny, genuine desire to serve him. And therefore, she got this position. Now that's really hope-giving to all of us. But this also shows us how important this small desire, this genuine desire to please Krishna is. How important is that desire? And it also shows that Ratnamala had also desire to feed him poison. And that she was also allowed to do that. So that shows us also how important those genuine desire to serve the Lord are, and how important it is to check all other material desires that might also be fulfilled. Now I would like also to say that, to just contemplate for a little while what Srila Prabhupada gave us. Just by coming here in the West, by spreading the movement for Krishna consciousness so wide, by having so many books distributed, so many jivas are now able to do a teeny service for Krishna. Just by giving a small donation, buying a book, appreciating devotees. All those living entities are now developing those desire, those spiritual desire towards Krishna. So it's really hope-giving, and that makes us appreciate more and more the gift that was given to us. So I would like to stop here. I don't know if you have any questions or any comments. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu, for this wonderful, beautiful narration of the Krishna Lila. I have a question about emotions, because you said at the beginning, like, we need to develop emotions for the relationship with Krishna. And I just noticed that in the Krishna Lila they have a lot of emotions, like crying and fainting, and a lot's going on. But do we have to access first our material emotions to come to the spiritual emotions, or how is
Well, our material emotions, they are always in action. They are always there. The idea is, by connecting with Krishna, they transform and they become on the spiritual level. And just by hearing about Krishna, one might feel those emotions. I somehow gave a lecture 2 days ago in the morning, and I also spoke about this pastime. And I asked the devotee who were there in the lecture I told them in the beginning of the pastime, you please listen very carefully, because at the end I will ask you to share anything that you heard during the Lila. So at the end I asked the devotees, and one devotee said, wow, so amazing how Nanda Maharaj came, and how anxious he was, and then he saw his child, and how he became so peaceful and happy by seeing his child. And I told him, see, you were there. You were into it. You could feel how the Brajvasis were feeling for Krishna. You had the experience of genuine spiritual emotion, and so now it's mainly on the material level that our emotions are acting. Maybe sometimes in a good japa, or sometimes in a very prayerful darshan, one also will feel those type of spiritual emotions coming. And also when we hear the pastimes, whenever our mind is connected to Krishna consciousness for a good amount of time, that we are not diverted by many other thoughts, and our heart is connected, then spiritual emotions are coming. So slowly as we progress, they will take over. Yeah? So you first, and then after.
You were speaking about the wish of service, and it might be still polluted in some way. How can we cultivate or develop this wish that it one day may become pure? Like this wish for service to Krishna.
Yeah, that's a very good question. How can we have pure desires when we are not pure inside of our heart? I think I will answer simply. I will say introspection. When you pray, or try to see what is behind your prayer. What do you really want behind what you are praying to the Lord, and just try to see for the pleasure of Krishna. Just think, keep one sentence in your mind. This is just for you. I don't want anything else. Even though it might not be pure, even though you just tell it like this, and it's maybe not 100% genuine, just try to think like this. This is just for you. And you can do that very practically and very simply. For example, when you offer the food to Krishna, this is just meant to him. And how could we say, okay, Krishna, now I offer you this bhoga, please afterward, when I go to my job, arrange I get a parking place. You cannot do that. For small things, like for example, offering your prasadam, or when you chant japa, try to meditate, this is just for you. I don't want anything in exchange. You just pray in that way, and then the desire will become pure. Although maybe next minute or next hour your mind will be again with other thoughts, but at least time to time for specific devotional activities, try to just keep that in mind. This is just for you. I don't want anything in exchange. And when you have that in mind while you practice your spiritual activities, you feel just so blissful. Something is happening. Just to keep this sentence in mind. This is just for you. I don't want anything else in exchange. Rina Devi?
Guru Maharaj spoke in Langenthal about the power of desire, and he gave the Sanskrit word kama, meaning desire in general, not just lust, and then having different directions, like the 6 enemies in the heart. And he wanted to give a continuation of this lecture. I wonder if he did so.
I don't think. I
couldn't attend
No, it was not done. Yesterday evening not, and I think there was one lecture also not. So it might be done soon, and we will arrange a broadcast for
He
that
really
one.
made us.
Yeah, many devotees asked me for the second part.
Maybe you can share something from your experience, how we can use those different, like lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, and illusion, the 6 enemies. I know Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives some very brief hints, and I think Guru Maharaj wanted to speak more about that, not just those brief hints from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which are generally known, I think, to some degree. But maybe you can say something. I thought it was very, very interesting to use the power of our emotions, basically, to take shelter and to offer it to Krishna.
I think we need to wait until Guru Maharaj's second part. I think that's quite a deep topic. I could say what I'm doing myself. I think something that might be very useful is to find proper balance in your life, so that you can practice Krishna consciousness with all your abilities. Jai. Because often the devotees are not able to render proper service to Krishna because they are not so well situated. So I will say, first of all, because all those things like anger or pride, they are expressing themselves when we are actually spiritually weak. So if we can arrange our life so that we have actually a very good frame in which we can practice Krishna consciousness, being there with our full heart, then we will become spiritually strong, and then the balance will turn from karma to prema, from what is there for me and going to Krishna. Another things I will say, try to find what is your service for Krishna. Where do you find most enthusiastic to serve Krishna, and do that as much as you can. This will also give you a lot of strength. Because it's really a matter of spiritual consciousness or material consciousness. When you can have you can develop your spiritual consciousness, all those things do not make much sense. You can go beyond. Only when we are spiritually weak, when we are spiritually undernourished, then we have those big stuff coming out and difficult to deal with and like this. So I would just say that.
Thank you. Makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
You spoke like the devotees are always taking shelter.
Louder, please.
The devotees are always taking shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. So can you maybe give some hints how one can do this always, taking shelter?
The example that was given in the Lila is that the devotee understands that there are danger at every step. Understanding that everything can go wrong at any time will help us to take shelter at any time. But often it's very difficult, as long as there are no difficulties, to take shelter. You think, when everything goes well, why should I take shelter? What you can do is to take shelter so that we can offer good service to the Lord. So that we take shelter in Krishna so that we can chant good rounds for Him. So that we are actually able to serve Him nicely. So it's not taking shelter just for us, but it's actually taking shelter or praying so that He will actually empower us to do proper devotional service. And this we can really do at every moment. But of course our minds are running around and it's not always easy. But I will say these two things. Try to see that every time everything can go wrong, so better to take shelter, and the other take shelter so that you can do proper service towards the Lord. Okay. So I think we'll stop here. Thank you for your kind attention. And yeah, please try to see what was there for you this evening. Yeah, everyone might have a little point or little something that was addressed this evening for the lecture. Try to see, we hear so much about Krishna conscious topics, but it's very, very important we use our abilities to remember. If we don't remember what we are hearing in Krishna consciousness, it's almost gone. But if we do the endeavor of remembering what we are hearing, it can be philosophical point, it can be on the pastimes itself. Just we have to do this effort of remembering what we are hearing, so that it can actually go deeper in our hearts. If we just hear on the superficial level and we don't do the effort of remembering, so much is gone. But if we make this effort of remembering, then it allows Krishna to go deeper in our heart. So, I will stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.